it takes a couple seconds for this whole thing to catch on. I think we're live. Hi, everybody. If we're live, hello, hello. Just someone in the chat say we're live so we can see this. I think we are. I think
There we
so.
go.
Let's see if the chat catches up. I think we're good. So, everybody, welcome in this evening. I have got to tell you how excited I am. Let me turn my volume down on this. I got to tell you how excited I am to be here with the one, the only Jack Storms. Thank you all so much for coming in. We have 56 people in. We expected a big crowd to support Jack and his work. This is an honor. It's a privilege to bring someone who's a contemporary artist and a very special person into my channel. And Tanya at My Jewelry Addiction is going to be moderating. Jeremy Miller will be moderating. So Tanya won't be able to be too social in the chat this evening, everyone, because you're used to her being social. She'll only be able to protect our chat to keep things safe and sound here. Welcome in. Hi, Kirsten, Linda Clancy, Joan B., Regina, Lena, Hala, Nassar, Elizabeth, Mary, Sarsar, Steph Sells, Joan B., Penelope, Tap Boyd, all of you, thank you again so much for sharing this out. So I could talk about Jack for probably, I don't know, an hour by myself, but here is the incredible Mr. Jack Storms. Jack, would you please introduce yourself and just tell my viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on. My name is Jack Storms, and I am a optic glass sculptor. I work in the cold materials, so there's no heat involved. It's grinding, polishing, and then joining pieces of glass together and then repeating the process over and over again. I've been doing it for about 23, 24 years now. It's my passion. I'm one of those lucky individuals that make my money with something that I'm passionate about. I know not everybody has that opportunity in life. So I wake up every morning reminding myself that I need to be grateful. And for the most part, it works. And I'm a happy warrior, and I love what I do. And I'm happy to share it. Thank you.
Great, absolutely. And I know that you're always busy and you're like a normal artist. Nothing's normal about you or your work, but as a usual artist, we're all very busy. We're hectic, we have a busy life. And for you to take this amount of time for such a small channel, and Jack, I want them to know I've only known you for a couple weeks. I mean, it's been a couple weeks. So everyone, so you understand, I had seen Jack's work on YouTube about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I had seen his work before, I think on some sort of, it was like an artist forum a while back, and I went on the website and I put the contact us, and the next thing you know, I'm on the phone with the Jack Storms. I'm like, how am I on the phone with this guy? And I decided to purchase one of his pendants, which is the dog tag, which is this one. And I had shown this in my video. The other day, and Tanya at My Jewelry Addiction had told me, Jason, it's 10 times more beautiful than what it looked like on the video. And it's true. Your work is so dependent on not only its internal amazing craft, but the light that goes through it. And look at this now in such low lighting. Look at how this optically performs. And Jack, I'm so happy to see you smile, because when I see my work in someone else's hands, I smile. I'm proud.
Yeah.
I feel good. So thank you for sharing this amazing talent, amazing skill. Could you tell our viewers, please, touch on, while I show this, touch on the actual process without giving your internal secrets away. Just kind of touch on maybe how it all started, and then the actual process of how many pieces of glass does something like this take?
Oh, so I probably start off with about 300 pieces of glass. And then what I do, and the type of glass I use is different, because each different glass has different qualities to it. So what we're looking at right now is the dichroic backing that's there. And all of this stuff, this dichroic stuff, it all has like a history of how it came into being that's tied a lot to the space industry. So basically, when they were trying to form shielding for astronauts' eyes beyond the protection of our atmosphere, they came up with a series of thin films that are now pretty steadily in the optics industry. And that was the benefit of creating this protection, is to have this thin film. And one of the benefits to it is that it has different color combinations. And if you look at it straight on, you'll see one color. And if you turn it at an angle, it'll have a threshold angle, and then it'll show you a different color, right? So, uh, so that's the main material that I work on, that I work with, that shows the color in my pieces. And then I surround that with lead crystal, and I'm always on the hunt for the finest lead crystal on the planet. So what I'll do on the larger sculptures is I'll take something like that jewelry piece that you have right there in a slightly larger form, and then I'll surround it with blank glass, so it kind of appears like the construct in the middle is floating. And then when you
Hmm.
turn it, or when you get a different angle on it, it'll just sit there like like a fishing lure. Just
Yeah.
it, it it has a presence that it's alive, right? So it
Yes.
interacts with you.
Yes.
If someone if someone has their piece for 20, 30 years in their home, and they move it to a different spot where it gets like maybe the afternoon light versus the morning light, or what have you, you're going to see new things that you never saw before. So the avenues for discovery and that teasing effect that it has on your eye just never goes away, and that's what I appreciate about creating these.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like on your short feeds that you've done that are so beautiful, your videos on YouTube, I've said you were like, oh, well, it's just this and it's just that. It's real simple. They don't come across as simple. They came across as direct. And it was enough for me with the eye of an artist and a critical thinker of art, and especially very staunch on the history of jewelry. And I refuse to buy contemporary. I've said this before, and everyone here that knows me, 100 and now 15 people, know that I am staunch and I don't buy contemporary because it doesn't resonate with something being important or unusual or that spanned before us. And then I come across this and I think that's something I haven't seen before. It's perfection in its craft. It's skill set that took to create this. Your your artistic impressed me the most in terms of my personal collection that would motivate me to go on and try and own one of your things to put in the
Oh, thanks.
Jason Adams collection. I will say this, and this is kind of courageous to say. I do think that any jewelry collection that is like a serious collection, whether it be like a personal thing or a museum or institution, they have to have a Jack Storms pendant. I think I'm surprised by the fact that you took sculpture and like miniaturized it for the body, because the greatest artists that have spanned before us that were jewelers started in sculpture. Rene Lalique, Bratoya.
Wow.
You mentioned some of the big ones, and they were sculptors, or sometimes they were jewelers and intimate, and then someone caught them and said, "Will you do that bigger?" So the translation between big and small, I've always said in my heart, for me, it's easier to make something bigger than it is small, because it like you're so much more, the craft has to be just perfect, and your craft on
Yes.
these is literally perfect. That brings me to a question I think might be on everyone's mind right now. And thank you all so much for being here. What is your percentage of loss? And we covered this personally. What is your percentage of loss that doesn't work out exactly right when you're creating?
Okay, so for the larger sculptures, it's pretty low, because that's a process that, there's a lot of time that you have to spend in planning, because it takes so long. If you don't have a plan,
Hmm.
um, and I've gotten there without a plan before, but it's taken me a long time to get there without the plan. For example, I'll work on a piece, and then I'm just stumped. Or actually, what'll happen is a piece gets damaged. And the first thing I'll do is I'll go to my sketchbook and just look at all the shapes that I've been wanting to create for a long time, but I've been too busy to do it. And
Hmm.
I'll find something in there and be like, okay, yeah, if I add a little bit to this, a little bit to that, and that'll take the longer process. Um, On the jewelry, it's a little bit, it's higher. I'd say, a good 10% of what I work on doesn't make it to to leave the studio,
Mhm.
and that's for a couple of reasons. One of them is that, and I think the primary reason is um, when you have like product photography, and then you tell someone what the measurements are. Um, if you overgrind, you don't have that piece anymore. So what I do is I take those pieces and I save them for personal gifts, and there's nothing wrong with them. They just don't look like anything that I'm currently sharing on a scale with anyone. Uh,
Mhm.
and then there's times that they just slip out of my hands and they go rocketing across the room, and they're
Uh,
not recoverable. But I still like make little things out of them. Like I've got a little chess set of broken pieces that I just make,
mhm.
and
Fantastic.
so I try not to leave anything sitting around my studio that's busted up too long for two reasons. One, they have jagged edges, and I've got a nice
Oh,
scar
geez. Yeah.
right here, and
Yeah.
I had a broken piece, and it was heartbreaking to me, and I left it there for a long time. And then one day I went by, I was carrying a big load of plaster in my arms, and I caught it, and it felt like a jean jacket snagged, but I wasn't wearing
Uh,
a jean jacket.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's number one, and number two, when they do break, you just always find a little bit of inspiration just by polishing it up. You might see something in there. You might see a different substrate that you just couldn't find before, or you didn't know existed.
Mhm.
And I've found a couple new pieces that I've put onto the jewelry line because of that. So those are the two reasons I just jump on them right away when they
Right.
break.
I'm glad that you touched on the kind of happy mistakes because that was another thing that was on my mind. When I go into the studio, I have a design or an idea, and I know you do as well. You've talked about that and you've shown that in some of your videos. But I'm glad that you let the mistakes kind of then maybe dictate something that else that happens in your work because I think that's true mastery of a medium. I think that's true mastery of a skill. And my mom had mentioned she was watching one of your videos. My mom's a big fan too, and so is Jeremy. They love your work. My mom said that you had a sculpture that had like two little chips on it or something, and then you were like and so I looked at that and you were reshaping it like I am going to save this. I am determined to save this, and it probably became something maybe even better than what you were planning. And I
Yeah.
think the potential of your work, maybe that's where I go. Is the potential is amazing. One other question is how like the cube and the egg, the shark fin. I know the commissions, the bell and the baseball bat. How did you determine what would be your end shape? And are there ones that you want to push your work towards? Is there something that you're feel
Yeah.
challenged by?
So, this goes a little bit into my aesthetic and why I think people are drawn to these geometric forms is that I'm pretty much stuck with the geometric form.
Hmm.
That's one of the boundaries that I have. And there was a
Hmm.
great philosopher that said, and I can't think of it right now, but he said, "I'm only free to expand within boundaries." Right. So it's almost like if you don't have any boundaries, you kind of don't have a sense of direction of where to go because we all want to push boundaries, right? But where are they?
Hmm.
So mine are the geometric form. So that's why cubes are something that I explore within that shape, spheres, and uh, so basically my work is dictated by a series of flat planes, and there's no such thing as a flat plane, a perfectly flat plane, in nature. So
Hmm.
what I did with those limitations and with those boundaries is um, I started to position these pieces and stack these pieces and construct these pieces in a way that I could illustrate something that is natural in our world, which is the golden ratio
Hmm.
or the Fibonacci ratio. So all of my work it has got that Fibonacci ratio in there. So for example, the piece that you have there is divided into three, and then I mapped out how wide it would be, how tall it would be. So it's actually very funny. It's kind of like a business card because the business card is the same, has got the same golden ratio to it. So it's a very natural type of of way to we all associate with those natural ratios. So the natural ratio is one of the boundaries that I work within, and the geometric needing that flat plane, and you don't necessarily achieve that with a sphere, but that's a sphere would be a good example of me pushing beyond it, pushing beyond the flat plane.
Hmm.
And then I created a series of pieces that I created from a lathe, and that's when I pushed beyond that boundary. And now I can do wine bottles, ovos, which are eggs, and wine goblets, chessboard pieces, large chessboard pieces.
Hmm.
Uh, and now I'm working on some more abstract stuff that's coming off the lathe too that I think is really nice. And I'm trying to put
Good.
those same Fibonacci curves in there as well. So I'm trying to keep all those ratios there because oddly enough, it
Hmm.
actually helps refract the glass. So when I stay away from the Fibonacci, or
Hmm.
when I polish something up and it's not quite Fibonacci, it's not
Hmm.
quite there. It doesn't pop like if I put that Fibonacci curve on there. Any part of the
Hmm.
curve, but if I put that arc in there, it just pops. So when I do a bowl, I make sure it's a Fibonacci bowl. So it's like I'll
Yes.
just map it out and get as close as I can. It's a pursuit of perfection. So
Hmm.
it's part of what gives me that drive because working on all these flat plane surfaces, um, it gives me a sense of being connected to nature, and of course I get that inspiration by being in nature. So
Yes.
I got to get outside, I got to touch grass. I'm in California, my studio's in California right now, so being around and that nature rich environment is really
Yes.
handy.
And I want to thank you again so much. The chat's going completely crazy. They're loving the work. Sarsar mentioned the Fibonacci that you just mentioned. I think that's the thing as well for me is my mind was, and I keep going back to personal because again, this is an artist talking with another artist, not an institutional mind, talking with an artist and dissecting all this. But the math part of it for me is the part that I know I would falter and I would fail. And I think that's maybe where my appreciation for the precision comes in. And then to turn glass into something that looks like this, to turn glass into something that looks like this thing we've never seen before. And the way the light travels through, I mean, you can just see that the quality of the work. I always go back to craft and concept. And with your work, the craft to me is just I don't know, it's just amazing to me. Sorry, I'm checking out the chat as well while we're chatting. But I'm completely amazed. And a lot of the viewers live in California. So I guess I'd like to ask you because I was looking at my notes again because I wanted to have some sort of direction. Touching on the intention of your work, what was your favorite commission that you've ever worked on? I'd seen the baseball bat and the bell. What was your favorite commission and why? I think that is important to me at least.
Yeah, so it was an accidental commission, and it was more of a gift. But it was early on in my career. I haven't been able to repeat it. I'm working on repeating it now because I've got some partnerships that I'm working on with Asfor Crystal in
Hmm.
Cairo, and they are a crystal manufacturer, and they do chandeliers, and they also support a children's hospital, a uh, a free care. So there, no one walks in there. No one walks out of there with a bill, and they do a lot of heart transplants, valves on children,
Wow.
and that's as close as I've been able to repeat this story that I was alluding to before. So I was involved with the Rotary Club when I was in Carmel Valley, California. A slice, I mean, that is a slice of real estate of heaven. Um, but I was out there, and I was part of the Rotary Club, and I got a call from one of the members who was over in Nigeria. They were working on a concept. They were working for Project Safe Blood Africa,
Hmm.
and they had ordered all the machinery. They had gotten all the funds. The machinery is coming in from Europe, and it's going to be the very first blood bank in the entire continent of Africa. It's going into Nigeria, and and all of a sudden, one of the diplomats for the or the bureaucrats, I should say, that was for the Nigerian government at the time said, "Oh, we forgot to have you sign the tariff waiver form." It's going to take 6 months unless our president can sign it. And so Warren was his name. Warren called me up and said, "Hey, look, is there anything that we can get from you? Do you have anything? I leave tomorrow." So I grabbed this piece that I was working on and I gave it to him with the concept that this would be an emissarial piece for the president of Nigeria uh, to consecrate the signing of the agreement. He was going to go over there and get that agreement signed. Uh, he gets off the plane. He shows the he has the paperwork, and he goes to the first diplomat and he goes, "Oh, no, you can't meet the president." And what they're doing is they're kind of probably looking for a bribe, maybe. I don't, I think we can all guess how it works over there.
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
and uh, and Warren says, "Well, that's too bad, because if he doesn't want to sign it, he's going to miss out on this gift." And holds up one of my pieces, and it was a chroma cube. And the guy was amazed. He goes, "Let me make a telephone call." So he calls his boss. His boss tells Warren, "I'm sorry, there's no way you can meet the president. That's like us wanting to go over there and get something signed by George Bush. Can you get that done?"
Mhm.
Okay, so he's going to miss out on this. Guy sees it. He's like, "Let me make a telephone call." So that repeated 4 or 5 times. 2 days later, he's in the president of Nigeria's office getting it signed. The machinery arrived and it was installed without a hitch. I got a nice
Mhm.
thank you letter from the president of Nigeria and from the
Mhm.
people over at Rotary. And that was the commission that I think, if we can call it a commission, that's the commission that means the most to me. Because if we look up Project Safe Flood Africa, the last time I checked, they had 4 million people that were saved, and that's kind of what
Wow.
gets you some juice as an artist, because we're all here to change the
Right.
world and make the world a better place by making things beautiful. But if you can leverage those beautiful things into actual, saved lives, that's
Mhm.
amazing. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm also very excited about this work that I'm planning on doing with this hospital over in Cairo, Egypt, called Al Nas, which means the
That's
people.
amazing. That's amazing, Jack. It is amazing because maybe that's part of why I saw your light from, different coasts. I always say, like, I want someone's art who has actually invested in making a difference in a positive direction. There's enough drama and garbage in the world. And to have you undo that, touches my heart, and I'm sure it touches the heart of a lot in my chat right now. Many people have come to my channel for a safe space and a creative space and a sharing space, but mostly because I always try and be as positive as I can be, and as real and as transparent as I can be. And I find that with you as well. And I've had those moments with you, through our couple phone calls of like, wow, this guy feels like a friend that I've had since college. There's some sort of amazing thing. So I'm glad you shared that story because it makes a lot more sense for me on a personal level. And I know this is like supposed to be a chat about you and just your work, but something like that really helps me out. Know why I invested in your work and invested in your friendship.
Well, I
So
appreciate it. And there's actually one more if you got time for it.
yeah,
And this one
please.
this one meant something to me just for my chops, my personal chops. So I grew up, all of this stuff that's in my head about what I want to create. I was always into comic books, Marvel, DC, other independent magazines,
Sure.
comic books as well. So Stan Lee was like a big part of that, right? So I got a call to get uh, what was originally two and ended up being four pieces in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and that meant a lot to me to be a part of, something that Stan Lee has his fingerprints on.
Yeah.
So. Uh,
Go
so
ahead.
I got into the movie. It ended up being four pieces, and I ended up getting paid for it, and I ended up getting a credit in the movie, and all that stuff was awesome. And I wanted to say thank you to Stan Lee so badly, so I made him another piece of something that was like it in the movie, and I was able to see him and gift him one of my pieces, his last public appearance, and I was the last person to meet with him. And I made sure they gave me a free ticket. I gave that to my son. I paid for
Okay.
my ticket. I waited in line. Like I didn't ask to cut in line or anything like that. I waited in
Okay.
line, let everybody go before me, and I was able to sit down with Stanley and present to him. It was a chroma cube, um, and that's my signature go to gift piece. And so it was a real honor to be able to. It wasn't a commission, but like I feel like I commissioned it myself to give it to
Hmm.
Stanley. And I
Hmm.
was the last person. I was the last person to meet with him publicly in his last Comic Con.
Okay.
And I think I impressed him. Hopefully, it's somewhere in a Stanley museum, and it's
Right.
beautiful. It was inspired by him, so that was just something. I've met all the stars. I've met all the big important people, and I never get nervous. Um, I got nervous there. I was really nervous
Right.
talking to Stanley. I
Right.
just a he's an icon to me, and b he was in his last days literally, and I didn't
Right.
want to bother him with my ego wanting to do this. I just wanted to. Hey, this is for you. I love you. I don't want anything. Don't sign it. Don't do nothing. Don't give me a thank you note. I don't want. This is for me to you. I gotta go. Bye. That's
Hmm. Yeah, I find it interesting and I mean this for cold connected glass. You're the Stan Lee of that because you are. I had a signed Stan Lee comic, and when he passed, I did sell it, and it sold for substantially more than I thought it would. But it was like I knew that it had to find another person to be with, just because comic book art is a whole nother thing. It's a whole thing all of itself. Animation art and illustration art is a whole nother thing. And Stan Lee for comic book art, that's the name that sticks out. And I've touched on it before with your work as well. I said in my video the other day, I said, of like generational artist, I'm like 1/1000th of that. And you consider yourself, like you've said before, like, quote, second generation of this. I don't care what generation it is because I find it to be the most amazing, well crafted. Again, thanks for smiling because I don't know. I get, to where my artist brain limits my words to talk about something, and I make things to show people and what I feel. And this, these two pieces of glass in front of me, over the last, week and a half or almost 2 weeks that I've had them, I haven't left home without this one. And I've not left home without this one, and I've never opened the case until now. But I've not left home without this. I take it to dinner. I take it to breakfast. I took it to the flea market. I've shown all my friends. I feel like I have a gem that is of a whole different universe. And when I look at it, like I've said, it's frozen the night sky. It's frozen the stars. It's alive. It has a thing and a movement all of its own. And to just be glass is amazing because I've often tried to educate my viewers on do not judge something by the material that's used, judge it on the design and the craft and the labor of love that it's been made with. And your labor of love is apparent because you've honed your skill. You've done, I don't know, you've done so much to advance glass. You've done so much to advance glass, and you've really pushed the realm of what I thought was possible. Because I'm like old school. Like I look around my house and I see like Murano blown art glass. That's from the turn of the century. And then I look at a '50s modern piece by Drew Smith. And I have several pieces of Mark Vance, and I'm not name dropping because I don't do that. It doesn't matter to me. I don't need to social climb. But when I look at these things that I surround myself with that are beautiful, I've yet to see this. I've yet to see someone really, truly break out of traditional and just make something that's, I am going to touch this for the first time ever. I just think that, everyone needs to see this. And we have 167 people in. Thank you all so much for joining and hitting the thumbs up. And Jack, I got to say it. Thank you for allowing me to have a dream fulfilled in owning one of your things. And I really, truly am inspired so much so that, I've asked you privately to create a stone for me that I can set in jewelry. And I have to do that. It has
Yeah.
to happen at this
It's
point.
that's in the works. As soon as I get back,
Yeah.
I'll get going on that for you.
Perfect.
And we'll find
Fantastic.
something together. We'll find something together. Like
I
what
would,
suits you.
I would absolutely love it. And to think that, my friend Tanya got me on YouTube, and I said I wouldn't do this because, like, I'm not a social media person. I didn't want that in my life, and yet, I was lonely one night. I was home alone. I still had my Shepherd mix at the time, and I was happy and content, but I was alone. I just felt alone that night, and so I went on YouTube and I found Tanya by chance, and here I am on YouTube now and talking with someone who your one video has 8 million views. Like 8 million views just blows my mind. Like I have
Yeah.
8,000 subscribers that I've worked really hard for. And your one video is 1,000 times, 1,000 times that. And rightfully so, because it's just incredible to me that your work is so fantastic. What else do you want to share with our viewers before we start taking questions from them? What else do you want to share with them? What else is on your mind?
Well, I'm just very grateful to be here today, and I think you're a phenomenal host. I think you found your spot, and I
Oh,
think you connecting with Tanya was just manna from heaven, as far as
yeah.
finding a niche that you can just fall into and be really natural with. So, my hats off to you, because you know, now that I know you, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so
and
much. It's like I
yeah,
don't know. You melt my mind. You just really
yeah,
cra-
and
you
and it just it's you know my friendships inspire me, and this has led to a certain amount of inspiration on my part too, just from what you've been able to do, and share it with a lot of people. And 8,000 people is
It's
no
not.
small feat.
Yeah,
That's
it's not
phenomenal.
because no, thank you for that. And I don't want to ever make those people feel like it's not, it's huge to me. Jack, I thought I'd be in front of like, I'd be grateful to be in front of 100 people. I'd be grateful to be in front of 50 people. And it's not about a number, it's about who wants to be with me and who wants to share this. That's what it's
Yeah.
about, It really
Well,
is.
take that eight, turn it sideways. You got an infinity thing, and
You.
that's that
I
that's
love the way
that's
you
what's out there
think.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
And
You
what's
really
and
are an
what's really
inspiration.
what's really cool about that piece is you can orientate it the other way too. So you can flip it up.
Yes. Yep.
So the hatches on the outside. Yeah. So
Yes.
that's kind of so now
Look at
the
what
how
it
the
does.
light comes in. So now
It's
how the light
amazing.
comes in is going to be affected by, see, if you turn it to the side,
Yes.
you can show. I'm sorry, the edge.
Oh, the edge. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, this edge. This edge?
Yes, right. So what they're doing is they're not going off at, if you look at it straight, they're not going off at a straight angle like this. They're going off like this,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Almost
And
like a
that's one of the things.
chevron.
Yeah.
Almost like a
Yeah.
chevron
Chevron.
or like a rib cage. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, it's just it's I'll tell you, it's I don't know. I just can't I don't know. I can't get enough of this. There's like a lot of times when I buy something and I'm super excited about it. And I've shared a couple things, I've texted you a couple things, and we're talking like, very expensive and very like crazy expensive. And yet I put them down and I'm like, okay, no big deal. But like this, I haven't put it, it's like I don't want to put it down. It's like, it's so weird. I took these two to bed with me and left them on my nightstand so I could see them before I went to bed. And then I saw him when I woke up, and I was like, I am the luckiest man on the planet to own this. Like I'm like so fortunate that I'm able to own such an amazing creation that, like I said, it just, but I wanted you to share with our viewers, 158 people. Oh, Moon Goddess Treasures. Hi, Twinkie. Hi, everybody. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Dandy. Thank you so much for sharing us out earlier. Hi, Steph. There's my girlfriend, Steph. And my best friend, Tori Goldrick, is in the chat, and it's her birthday today. So she's,
Oh, can I do a birthday thing for her?
yeah, 100%.
Okay, I have to warn you, it's not the traditional happy birthday. It's a little different. So you
We're
ready?
ready. We're
What's her
ready.
name? What's her name?
Tori.
Tori. All right, Tori, this one's for you. You're one day older, one day wiser, a rock and roll star, king czar, and a Kaiser, a room full of friends, a mouthful of cake. Every present is for you, and you feel pretty great. You're the girl of the hour, the VIP. You get the first slice of the PIE. So blow out the candles and make a wish. Put a smile on, because it's your birthday, kid.
You just Jack, you made my night. Everybody, you got to give us a big thumbs up on that one.
I got to give credit. That's MC Chris.
Okay. Well,
So
that was perfect. I don't know where
he
that
probably
came
does a little
from,
bit
but I'm
better.
so thankful that that happened. So,
Oh, dude,
Tori,
I'm obnoxious. When I go out at restaurants and someone's like, you know, you hear all this crowd, birthday, happy birthday. I'm like, oh, hey, is it your birthday? Let me come. And I've just like busted into parties doing it before, and people have
that
been like,
is the
no, no, no,
best.
no, 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 no. We don't want, no, 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 no. We got a thing go, no. And
Oh, that was
99%
good.
of the time they're so happy when I spit it out.
That was the best ever. You
I
know, it
can't stop
wouldn't be
myself.
it wouldn't be a Jason chat without that. It just wouldn't be. So thank you. You know, thank you for making me settle in because you really feel like a friend. And it's amazing because like I said, I was like a little concerned, like, is this gonna be good enough? And I will say it's been amazing and magical and fantastic. So Tori, thank you so much for being here. You have been my best friend for 40, let's see here. I think it's 46 years we figured out the other day, 45 or 46. And you've been through a lot with me. You've seen me at my best and at my worst, and you've always found a way to support me, and that's a true friend. And we need more of those in this world. And thank you. So now I have a brand new friend in front of all of my other new friends and in front of a lifetime friend. So I don't think I could ask for anything else. It feels like my birthday.
There you
So,
go.
Jack, what else do you want to say though? Like, what else do you want people to know about your work, or how did you get from sculpture to jewelry? Because there's a lot of resistance sometimes when an artist gets comfortable. Sometimes they get complacent and they don't grow, and that's not being rude, it's being truthful. And that's okay for some artists. But how did you get from sculpture to jewelry? How would that happen?
So I had some help with this one. I've got a friend. He's an actor. His name is Mika Fitzgerald,
Hmm?
and he's got a real stern look, and he's, oh my god, what a sweetheart.
Hmm.
Um, like he would play like the bad guy in everything. Like if you gave him a chance. Like he was on Westworld in the first episode of Westworld as one of the
Hmm.
robots they were working on, and he just had like a menacing look on his face. Um, and he's been in the couple Geico commercials. Anyway, so me and him were sitting, and I was still married at the time, and we're sitting on the couch, and we're just talking about, like, different ways, things I've wanted to do for a while. And either he or I, one of us said, like, coming up with jewelry would just be phenomenal. And then I don't know if it was him or me, but we instantly, started like spooling off on the whole concept. And my ex-wife was right there. She's like, "That's stupid. Don't do that. Nah, 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 nah. It's going to be a bad idea." So 2 years later, and of course, like she was involved in the studio too, so it didn't meet her approval, so wasn't going to go anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, so 2 years later, she wants to get a divorce, and I'm okay. All right, and she wants to get a payout to exit the business because I'm not gonna work with my ex-wife in my business. And I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. Um, I'll give you all the revenue from my first jewelry line. So that's how I got into it. With
Okay.
her being gone and it being all on me now, that's when I was just like, jewelry, jewelry. I want to do jewelry. So
I
that's how I
don't
was.
need. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's how I was able to get her out, and
Hmm.
then after that, I've just been doing jewelry on the side ever since. So it was a nice line of demarcation to be free from that, and to go into something that was just me.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because, I've often said, like, for me in my work, and it's not about my work tonight, but I keep going back to being an artist and discussing this with you as a friend. I've sometimes been able to, and some people know this in the chat about me already. Most of them do. Most of them know. I'm an emotional being who I will I will make things to be able to work past a loss, devastation, not yet a divorce, and I don't plan on that anytime soon. But loss, and there's some sort of atonement with that. When I went into the studio with like that grief or sadness or whatever, because divorce isn't celebratory by any stretch ever. And I would, I don't know, I speak for myself, and I'm glad that like maybe that happened, because then maybe this whole thing wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be here tonight discussing this with you, and I wouldn't own such two beautiful things. I will say that my friend Tanya did mention to me she was very grateful that you did jewelry, because she's a jewelry addict, but she also and Tanya, please drop your link, please. Tanya's been dropping your link, Jack, like a crazy person. So Tanya, thank you from me and Jack for dropping his link 8 million times in the
Yeah,
chat.
thank you.
Thank you so much. And I guess my thing is I go to that and I say, she mentioned to me that, a lot of people can't afford, a $20,000 sculpture, and that
Yes.
thing. And I recently quit my job, so I don't have like that steady income, even though I didn't care. I quit it for a reason, and I'm glad I did, because that's the way I found you that night. I said, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to buy myself something really cool. And now I have a lifelong best friend, so I'm glad I quit my job. If I could trade my job for a friendship with Jack Storms, I would quit my job any week. So but I say this to you, she was happy because now your sculptures are affordable and they're wearable. She can afford to buy one of your pieces because it is attainable, and I'm so glad that you are a
Yeah.
jeweler in a way, because yeah, she's able to afford one of your lovely things now.
And that's what it's all about for me, is being able to share this with the most amount of people. I still want to create those $100,000, $200,000 sculptures, because there's a whole place for me to go in a creative way to get there. But
Hmm.
it's important to me to share what I have artistically with people that fits within their means. So in the future, I plan on coming out with apparel. Like this guy's name is I don't know if I can say his name online, but and
Okay.
but it's um it's Eclectic Collections. That's the name of his company,
Hmm.
and he does these like awesome hemp hats. So
Oh, it's cool.
I'm coming up with all kinds of apparel designs where you take a close up of my work and then you use it as a print on the hoodie, on the hat, and I'd like to do some dress shirts and just make things that people can interact with in the day. That's important to me, because there's a status that every artist wants to get to where they're recognized for what they do, and a lot of that comes with being recognized by certain people. But
Hmm.
that's never really been important to me. I've never been in a bunch of museums. I've never been chasing Christie Sotheby's auctions or anything like that. uh,
Hmm.
and it's not something that I'm not closed minded to it, but
Hmm.
it's just getting their approval is not as important to me as being able to share my art with as many people as possible. That to me
Yeah.
is just more important to me. I'd still love to get to those places, but I guess I'm not willing to chase it down so much.
I love that you said that. I have said it in that same way. I've said that probably for the last 25 years of my artistic career myself as a silversmith. I've said the same thing. I said it on Thelma's live interview. I'm glad you
Mhm.
said that, because I want to know where my work's going. I want to know who owns it. It's not a
Yep.
prideful thing, but it's most certainly, when you give birth to something like this, all the money in the world doesn't really matter. It doesn't,
and,
you
and
know.
and it's more, and it's a little bit more than that too, because once you get to like that level, you have middlemen. You have
Yes,
middlemen
you
on
do.
middlemen on middlemen, and they're the ones that have the connections. They're the ones that get
Yep.
to like when we sell something to somebody and that person actually says, "I love this, thank you." That means something. But when you've got a middleman, they tell it to the middleman, and the
Yeah.
middleman's like, "Get back to work."
Yep.
So I mean, I like having that direct connection on whatever level with the people that give me their patronage, because that is what keeps the lights on.
Yes.
that is what pays the bills. That is what, keeps me with my employee. That keeps me with a budget that I can expand and explore other pieces. And that's something I've just never lost track of as an artist, and I've always been very appreciative of that. So that's one thing that really, that's another thing I should say that really means a lot to me too, is having that connection with people that are actually going to engage with the work and appreciate the work.
Yeah, thank you for that. And people in the chat are totally, they're totally supporting that as well. And again, thank you all so much for being here. We have stayed steady at well over 140 people, so thank you so much. And please share this out to everyone in your communities. Please grab this video and share it out. I usually don't ask for a video to be shared. I like when people do that on their own, but for the sake of Jack and his work, please share this out. Tanya at My Jewelry Addiction, thank you so much again. And Tanya, please drop your link, please. Thank you all so much. And Jack, is it okay if we open it up for questions from our viewers? Is that okay if you would entertain a few questions from the people in chat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So if there's just a couple, couple quick questions that you guys have, maybe on something that I've left out. I had other things that I wanted to discuss, but as soon as I see one of Jack's creations, I kind of completely lose my mind. But how could you not?
And I'm a little long-winded.
So I was like, I kept reminding myself. I had little post-it notes all over my house that said, "Don't overtalk Jack tonight." So, and I
Yeah.
shared with you the power went out, and I was so right before we went on, an hour before we went on, my power went out. We had some little ambiance. Thank you for loving me. I love you too. I really love you. Oh, thank you, Joe, for saying you've had an amazing evening with Jack. So,
Thank you, Joe.
so Steph, my dear friend Steph is the first question, and Steph also lives in California, so she's a neighbor of yours. She said, "How did you get started with this type of glass art? How did you get started?"
So I graduated from a college, Plymouth State College, and I had a degree in art, minored in art history. I went to school when I was a little bit later in life, so I graduated when I was 30. So I wasn't so much into the beer drinking and the socializing, and there's some good skiing up there. I didn't ski a lot, um, so I sat in front of the class, every single class, and I wasn't necessarily even really concerned with my grades. I just wanted the information I needed from them so I could get the diploma, get what I needed to up here, and be an artist, because that's what I wanted to do. So when probably like the middle part of my junior year, it really kind of sunk in that they didn't have any kind of placement program. There's no kind of intern system that they had in place. They were just like, here's your diploma in art, and there's the economy. Go get it, kid. So that's what I basically did. Is I started picking up trade magazines, looking through trade magazines, started traveling to trade shows, art trade shows, and I did everything from construction, lighting design, um, art, craft shows, everything. And in that journey, I saw that glass was really had a lot of potential, and there were so many people that were already very, very, very talented in hot glass. And then I found cold glass. And I found a guy that was working in cold glass, worked for him for 2 years. And as I kind of like, as you know, I, I dove into it so hard that he didn't have to do any work. Right. So I was in it. I was everywhere, doing everything as much as I possibly could, and that created a little bit of creative tension.
Yes.
And then there was a little bit of a lull in the art world for sales, and he announced that he was going to make some cutbacks, and I was like, I'm ready. So at that point, it was 2 years later, I went out and hung up my own shingle and started getting into galleries and sharing my work and sharing. I tried introducing him to Fibonacci. I tried introducing him to the lathe. I tried introducing him to a couple other things, but he'd been in the game for 20 years before I got there, right? So, these new things with a new artist just coming in and handing them to he probably didn't feel right just taking them on as his own. So they were right for the taking for me to just implement into my own work, and that's what I did. incorporated that Fibonacci ratio, and also started working, developed a cold working lathe that no one's done before since.
Okay, that answers that. And also, I want to thank you for answering that so complete. My friend Sarsar, her name is Sarah in real life. She's from the lovely state of Texas. She said, she said, have you noticed how Jack's pieces are similar to some feldspars, which is a gem? And she said, like the Australian lattice sunstone,
Yep.
incredible talent is what she said, which we all agree with that. I think another part of your work that I don't think you see because I do presentations for the lapidary groups for Cleveland. I did a presentation for the Gemological Institute of America. And I do a lot of presentations for gem cutters because in my collection, like the ring I'm wearing, that's lemon citrine, and I did the mounting for this one, but the lemon citrine that I'm wearing, it's all about precision in the cut, precision and math, and yours is exactly the same thing. Have you noticed that your stuff is like lapidary art? I mean, you've got to be, your mind has to go to that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of similarities between that and a lot of similarities between natural stone. And I think that the people, like, I draw a lot of my inspiration from the ancients because they had a strict adherence to the golden ratio, and as do I. So there's a lot of things that I find a lot of inspiration from things that are out of nature.
Okay. A friend of yours, Winter Beach, is in the chat, and he or she said, "Great show, love MC Chris." So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good
yeah.
stuff too. And also, if I saw that somebody made a comment that I use a hextol called, I mean, use an epoxy called hextol. That's absolutely true. I wanted to do a couple shout outs for people that are my suppliers that I deal with.
Yep.
One of them is the dichroic glass man, who's on Instagram. That's who I get my dichroic from. And then almost all my other supplies come from his glassworks, including the Hextol, which made me think of that. And Hextol is great for mounting jewelry as well. It's the best epoxy out there on the planet, full stop. And then,
Great.
um, and then the partnership that I have coming up is going to be with Ask4 Crystal. Nothing signed yet. And we were just talking about this on the little pre-show we were having. But I love what they're doing with the Almas Hospital, and I love them over there. Just as I feel like I've got a new family over there. But they make the best crystal on the planet. And one of the things we're working on is getting that crystal over here so we can distribute it to artists as well, because it's very hard to get lead crystal over here now. Um, and so I just want to give those three people shout outs. And in case anybody had any questions, his Glassworks answers a lot, and uh, Dichroic Glassman has everything you need. And if you need any chandeliers, talk to me. I know a guy.
Great. Jack, if you would, after we're done, if you would just send me a quick text of that information, I'll put it in the description
Yeah.
so people can go to that. Also, can you tell people while we're doing that, can you please give yourself a plug? Because I didn't put in the links yet because I told you I was going to do that after. I'm more comfortable doing it after. How do they find your work and how can they order from you, please?
Yeah. So it's just jackstorms.com. Well, jackstorms.com, not just jackstorms.com. Oh, they should start using just someone's typing in JUSTJACK. It's
I want a shirt.
jackstorms.com.
Will you do me a favor and get me a shirt that says just Jack Storms?
Yeah. Yep. That'd be
Okay.
awesome. So it's
Okay.
jackstorms.com, and then you've got all the links in there to browse, inquire about sculpture, jewelry.
Yes.
That'll link to my Shopify site, and everything's automated from there. And I get a nice little screen saying who I ship it
Great.
out to, and that's how we started talking.
That's exactly how it happened. So just so you know, it's real, you guys. Like if you go on to order, someone is definitely going to answer your order, and they're probably going to pick up the phone and call you. And I'm I'm an old school eBay seller. I've been selling on eBay, and I laugh because I think about some of the times that I've sent things out, and I was desperate for like packing supplies. I never used like empty food containers of trash, but I would use like old newspaper and stuff. So I really appreciated your professional, the sealed, compartments to keep them safe, and such a clean presentation. I loved the black envelopes. I loved the black sticker. very well thought out and very much so, trademark of you and your work. So I really appreciated the packaging as well. And there's a lot of people that come to these that really do like, to have that kind of cared for as well. So thank you for such a clean presentation when you ship. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm working on, and actually cleaning that up a little bit. Um, uh, uh, is I want to get the packaging like really, like I want to start working with people that I can send these to, and they can do the unpack. Like right now, my I'm just not I'm not 100% about my packaging. I like to make it
Mhm.
cool, but I just don't have a lot of time to spend on, you know, the packaging.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I just don't have a lot of time to spend on it, but hopefully I will in the future.
Okay, so it looks like I just want to again, I kind of want to give a couple shout outs like you just did for your people. You are also incredibly important to me. Joanna Lowe, Dina Marie, Mary Loves, Joe, Tanya, Moon Goddess Treasures, Daisy, Rhonda, Lena, you are very important to me. Mia at Crazy May Stash. Mia, you have a fantastic channel and do amazing unboxing of your uncle's items. Penelope, thank you. Amanda, Tammy, Designs Laura, Nightmare, Muppets, Tammy, Mama G, Tapboyd, Ladybug Reseller. Jack, thank you for bearing with me on that because this was about you, but it's also about my people who trust me and who love me and come to my channel for such transparency and such honesty and such positivity. So, Jack, you fit right into all of this. Raven, thank you. Gemma, thank you. Wendy, the other Mary, Max, Dandy's Wild Treasures. Thank you so much. Jack, you would love Dandy. You would love all of these people. Bruce at Bruden's Treasure Chest. Bless Baubles, that's Sherry. She has an amazing channel. I have really grown to love each and every person that comes to my channel. And you know that I always say, no matter how big I get, which I at this point, I don't care how much bigger it gets. I will never forget any of you. And I've said that and I mean it. Oh, Picasso Cat is here. Becky S is here. Hi, Becky. Joshy Boy is here. There's my Joshy Boy. You're adorable. You're handsome. You're an amazing light. Kathy Blaine, Rudy Valdez. Now you're all coming in. Thank you all so much for giving Jack the love and appreciation that he so deserves. And Jack so graciously did this. Oh, Lisa Hand is here. She's my friend from Oregon. Her mother knew me here in the estate sale business. Sue, and that's her daughter, Lisa, who's going to start a channel very soon, and look out when she does. She is an amazing light as well. Designs Laura, thank you so much for being here. And Steph, thank you. Oh, Steph says, we love you, Jack, because they all do. Kirsten, we love you. Kirsten said, thank you so much. 159 people. Lynn Small, thank you. Rebecca Butler, thank you so much. Thank you. I think we've kept Jack long enough. Jack, is there anything else you want to leave them with? Is there anything else you feel that we should cover before we go?
Yeah, I think we had I think we had a great chat, and I'm really happy to be here. And you've got an amazing crowd, and I feel
Thank you.
very honored to be in their presence and in yours.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, I mean, the artist journey is just one of taking your lumps, going forward, and saying thank you, and asking for another helping, and trying not to lose track of it's a blessing to be able to do this. So I think there's a couple of good lessons in there for life that I'm trying to teach my son about
Yes.
doing something you're passionate about, and the price and the reward behind that.
Mhm.
um and yeah, it's just it's a real pleasure to be here and to be able to share.
Thank you so much. And I hope in the near future, as your work progresses, which I know it will, and as you continue to reach for the stars, because you've already achieved so much, I would really love, love, love for you to come back. Maybe, whenever you're ready. Like if you say to me, if you text me, you're like, hey, Jason, let's go on. I got something new to share. I would love to do this again because there's so much more that I feel that we could, swim lap that I feel that I didn't touch on because my channel is really known for the history of jewelry and it's not known for contemporary artists. And I'm so glad that I've been given the opportunity on here to bring on someone like you, and someone who's already established, and very successful, but humble and kind, and whose work is not like our planet. So
And if
Jack,
that and if that and if that guy's not around, you can have me on.
I knew you were going to do it. I knew it. So, anyways,
but
thank you
but you know
all
what?
so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there is one thing that at some point I would like to do with you, because when we first started having a talk, we weren't doing an interview, and I think talks like that, just talks between artists, are very, very, very valuable. We didn't get a chance to share that because it was kind of like my introduction to your people, and I'm very
Correct.
grateful for that. But I think there's a lot of nuggets just between guys like us, just like chopping it up and asking those kind of those questions that we were asking each other that didn't make it
Mhm.
onto the chat today. And sometime in the future, I'd really like to do that with you, because
Yeah, I
I think
wanted to
I
keep
think you're
it.
equally fascinating.
Thank you so
I don't,
much. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Because Tanya said to me, she goes, bring some of your work on. And I had my whole table full. No one's ever seen this ring before. No one's ever seen this before. I know, Jack, you're like, is that a ring? Yeah, it is. It's a ring. So
That
it's
is
all
awesome.
sterling silver. Yeah, it's awesome. But I will tell you this much. So that's a ring I've never shown on my channel. And then Tanya did ask me to bring on my flowers. And these have never been shown before. So I'm going to do just one. I made these flowers back in the day that are sterling silver. And your work is angular and perfect and mathematical, and mine is just not. This is sterling silver, and it was part of my thesis show. And I only show this because 153 people so graciously here. I made this sterling silver flower, and it's completely handmade out of sterling silver to look like a milkweed pod. And on the inside, when you open it with this tiny little hinge, here's the surprise. So
No.
yeah, look at all the seeds. So those are all sterling silver parts that I
Oh,
handmade, and then yeah, I soldered.
I just
Thank
got
you, Jack.
goosebumps. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Like
So I
real
soldered those.
goosebumps.
Oh, thank you so much.
That is so
And
cool.
thank you. And so I soldered those inside of this sterling silver milkweed pod, and I've never shown these on my channel because there's a story behind this work, and these I for my thesis in school, and to be able to graduate and get out of there, I say that lovingly. I was a very difficult student. It was time for me to go, and these were paper white back in the day, because when you work in sterling and you raise the silver yes, Lynn, it's a milkweed that I hand constructed. There's nothing cast on these, and I've covered that before. So this is fabricated out of a flat sheet and out of wire and tubing, and the little tendril was handmade and soldered on, and it's supposed to look crooked. So I got as close as I could to the actual milkweed pod, and I made the little hinge. These took me, it took 4.5 months to make 17 plants. And this is one of 17. And one of the thistles, it's somewhere here, one of the thistles has 782 parts that were completely
Wow.
hand constructed. And it looks exactly like taking a real thistle and dipping it in silver, and then it looks like a real thistle. So, but yeah, it's a fantastic, fantastic thing that I accomplished. But I want to, we'll talk about that when we come back on, and we'll just, have that informal, honest, brutal critique of each other's work. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
absolutely.
do that.
Yeah, I'd be looking forward to that. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, Jack, it's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody, thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Sean, Chelsea, Tap Boyd, Linda Lee, Per, which is Deborah, Flippin' Jewelry for Change. Oh, you need to see that. Dina Marie, thank you for your support. Larry Ambrose, thank you so much for joining in. El Twinkie, Love It Treasures, 159 people. Thank you so much for giving Jack this amazing platform to share with all of us. So we really
My
appreciate it. And
pleasure.
Jack,
It's been my
I'm
pleasure.
so incredibly grateful for your friendship, your artistry, and thank you for coming on my channel. I can't thank you enough. So thank you, my friend.
Salute. Cheers.
Take it easy, everyone. Bye. Be good to each other. See you. Bye, Jack.